their adoptive placements,
Yeah.
it threw us off a little bit. So we didn't talk to her a lot throughout that 8 months. She never really, well, for the first 6 months, I don't think she never called to talk to the girls. She never went and visited the girls or anything like that, which was a little odd to us also. Hello everyone, so today we are sitting in our RV. It's been a while since we've put together any videos. We set out to do videos on, like a family vlog about our life and the activities we do, and the fact that we adopted our son and that we were moving toward adopting more kids.
Yep.
And with these things that have been going on with our kiddos that were placed with us, we hadn't recorded as much, and we definitely didn't post any actual vlogs. Now we're doing that, so you'll see some of the videos will be from like 8 or 9 months ago compared to this video, which you'll be seeing, which will be a little bit more current. For one, I have a beard now due to the whole COVID situation.
We are definitely in quarantine.
Yes.
So as long as no one can see my roots, we're fine. But yeah, so we're in quarantine right now. So we've just been staying home. But we are essential workers, so we have been working. I've been going out to the office, but with a mask. But yeah, we're just trying to be safe.
Yeah, most of the time she's been able to work from home, and I've been able to work from home 100% of the time, which has been nice. But it is interesting when people say, oh, I have all this time to be able to do all these projects and things, because we have 3 kiddos in our home right now
that we're
homeschooling. So it's like we're first grade, second grade, third grade teachers, and both have full-time jobs. We're remoting in and having to call into meetings and do a lot too. So yeah, we've been pretty busy.
Plus trying to just keep our house, orderly as well. We also got chickens, so there's another thing that's happened in our life. So yeah, we're trying to take quarantine one day at a time right now. But we thought we should update you guys because a lot has happened in the last 8 months. Some changes, some good changes, some not so good changes. But yeah, let's dive in and tell you.
Yeah. So first off, when the first vlogs that you'll see, we're preparing for 3 sibling girls to move in.
Yeah.
And you'll see a video about us preparing their room, or mostly Skyla putting together the room. You'll see the Alzheimer's walk that we were able to go on together. That was a fun event.
Which is coming back around.
Yeah. There's some other video or some footage that we will be able to post later, but the case itself, again, we set out to adopt them. We found them from the Northwest Adoption Exchange's kind of sibling site called Where. Northwest Adoption Exchange site, anyone's able to go on there and see kiddos that are able to be
states.
adopted.
It's all 50 states, so you can, if you're in Oklahoma, you can look in Maryland if you wanted to.
So the Northwest Adoption Exchange site is for kids that are legally free and able to be adopted, whereas the Where site, you have to be a licensed caregiver to be able to access the site. But once you have access, you can see kiddos that are looking for adoptive placements, which means their parents aren't quite, the rights haven't quite been terminated yet, but they're years into their case, and they're seeking termination. So the termination is likely. So they're trying to transfer the kiddos to homes that will be able to adopt them. We did end up taking in the kiddos, and right away, like a week after we took them in as placements, there was a red flag. The guardian ad litem, who was appointed by the court that works with kiddos that are in foster care, here in Washington in lieu of an attorney.
Yeah.
In Oregon, when we dealt with our son, he actually had a lawyer that advocated for him. Here in Washington, I think they have to be like 12 or 13, and then they have to ask for one or something like that.
I think it has to be.
It's weird how different the systems can be from state to state, but in Washington, they have guardian ad litem. So the guardian ad litem had told us that about a week after they moved in, I'm so glad that they've moved into your home, and you're such a great plan B. The mom is working so hard to get them back, but we're just glad that you're there for the girls for now. I mean, it was very bizarre, because it seemed here we are, taking in kiddos that they're looking for adoptive placement for
A permanent home for
Yep.
them.
At this point in the kiddo's case, after a year, their case switches from the primary goal being reunification to that goal switches to the secondary goal, and then the first goal becomes placement elsewhere. Whether that be permanency with a relative or permanency through adoption. So for her to had said that we were Plan B, and here we are taking in kiddos, and our paperwork says that they're adoptive placements.
Yeah.
It threw us off a little bit. So we didn't talk to her a lot throughout that 8 months. She never really, for the first 6 months, I don't think she never called to talk to the girls. She never went and visited the girls or anything like that, which was a little odd to us also. So, but we just didn't think much of it.
But and also with the gal, they're supposed to, from what we've understood, because again, we've only adopted through Oregon. It's our first time going through this process in the state of Washington. From what our understanding was, the gal is supposed to be for the children's best interest, and they're supposed to visit them every month. Unfortunately, we never saw our gal for 6 months or talk to her after for 6 months, so we never got a chance to really connect with our gal, or her with the girls, I think, too.
Yeah. So they came to us last August, and by September, they were supposed to have court to determine the termination. And we were told, next month we'll know whether or not the rights are terminated for sure, and whether or not we can proceed to the steps for adoption.
Which we were told 90% chance of being terminated.
Not only being terminated, but terminated basically a month later. I mean, it was 90% chance next month this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then we were told in September that one of the attorneys was going to be out of town, so they bumped the court date to October.
Yes.
Which was a little unnerving, or unsettling, because we're wanting to kind of move along in this process and start.
Because adoption can take a while as well.
Yep.
So it's just with the courts and everybody getting the paperwork done. Adoption can take a while with our son. I think it took almost 10 months for us to get everything going and actually have a court date.
Another thing to note is during, before we were told that there wasn't going to be court in September, we had the transition meeting they called FTDMs. Anytime there's movements toward home or movements anywhere, they pulled together everyone, including the biological parents, and if there's lawyers,
therapists,
CASAs,
doctors, teachers,
gals, are invited a part of these meetings anytime they're making any shifts. The girls were told by their previous foster parents that we were their adoptive placement, and that's what we were told, and well, right away at this next meeting, the biological mom and her attorney said, hey, we need to stop using the term adoptive placement, because we don't want the girls thinking that they're getting adopted. And mind you, the kids are already with us. We've already taken them in, with adoption in mind, and the state was looking for adoptive placements by putting them on the WARE site, which we found out later, it takes a court order to even be on that site. So the judge has to be aware that they're looking for adoptive, placements. So no one was allowed to talk about adoption around the girls, nor would we have actually really even, aside for answering questions, but we wouldn't really have been talking a lot about adoption until it was finalized anyways.
Yeah.
It was just prior to being with us, it had came up, and they did actually mention it when they moved in. They said, are you guys adopting us? I said, well, yeah, we've taken you in, and if the case heads that way, then it sounds like we're going to adopt you.
Yeah.
And that was assuming that court was going to be the following month. So again, in September, we were told that the court was bumped to October. October rolls around, And you could probably tell the next part.
So October rolls around. We hadn't heard from our caseworker because court is 2 hours north of us. So we really can't take off work or anything like that to go attend these court dates. And they really told us you really don't have to attend. Which in Oregon, I attended our son's termination hearing for his biological father. So
that's another difference, actually.
that's another difference, yeah.
So the court process in Oregon, they have set court dates where you, just like anything else, that's scheduled for court. People show up, then the judge comes in, and you're speaking specific to that the case. Both sides, give kind of a check-in, and we went to several of those with our son.
Yeah.
The reason why we weren't we would have been willing to drive, to the 2 hours north to be able to go to the girls. But we were told that the way they handle it is, it sounds to me more like a traffic court type of a situation where you have several cases scheduled at the same time. Everyone kind of sits there and waits to be called in. They get called in.
Yeah.
They can last up to 5 minutes. Our caseworker was saying, and then then you're done. And she's like, you could come to the court, if you want. But and then she explained us how it happened and that they could only last 5 minutes, and we thought, what, maybe we won't go to some of these court ones. We'll just get the updates.
Yeah, because that would be a whole day for us.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out childcare and work. It just seemed a little too much for us,
Yep.
especially if it was only 5 minutes and we can get an update later.
Yep.
So back to October, I think it was like the day or two after was supposed to be their termination hearing. So I had dropped the girls off at their dance classes, and I called the caseworker. I was like, hey, just wanted an update. What's going on? What's the next steps that we have to do? And then she drops a bomb on me. She's like, well, court did not happen. I don't remember why it was canceled. I don't know if it was because somebody was on vacation, something happened.
At that point,
I just don't remember.
Yeah, at that point, it was canceled because they didn't believe that they could win the case that month, because the biological mom for 2.5 years wasn't doing what she was supposed to do, and we're not going to share any details specific to any people or any names of any kiddos, and you won't see faces in our blogs. Just to let you know, all of this is confidential, so no specific people, no specific names of kiddos, no specific, no faces, anything like that will ever be
and
shown
nothing
in
of
our
what
blogs.
the biological parents.
The names of the
either.
caseworkers, the names of the biological parents, the names of the gal. We're not planning on sharing any of that, because we do think, even though we've been frustrated by the process and frustrated with some of the people, we would not share
it's all
any
for
of that.
the kids too. Yeah, it's all for the kids' safety as well.
Yeah.
So we just don't want to do that as well for them. So anyways, it was canceled in October, and I was like, what? Because she had not called us, she had not texted us, because we were basically texting all the time. She's asking how the girls are doing, how we're doing, and that's why I called, because I hadn't gotten an update. And I was very unhappy by that point, because again, with our son, it was a very streamlined process. We knew what was happening. We were invited to every meeting, every court. With this one, we're not invited to every meeting. We're not invited to every court. We're not engaged with them, I guess. They're not telling us everything that's happening until we're calling them or asking them hey, what's happening? And they're like, oh, this is what's going on. But anyways, so I was talking to her, and I was like, okay, well, when's the next court date? What do we need to do? And she was like, well, the next court date we have is February. So we had not signed up to be long-term foster parents, because I have so much respect and love for foster parents that do this day in and day out, that have kids coming in and out of their homes all the time. I feel for them. But unfortunately, with our lifestyle and the way that our family is, it's just better for us to just adopt from foster care and to give kids a home.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sacrifice that goes in when you're doing foster care. For example, these kiddos have multiple visits a week, and you as foster parents have to make sure that you are available for them, even throughout the COVID-19 quarantine,
Yeah.
we still have to set up Zoom visits at certain times and make sure those are going. And they've increased the number of Zoom visits compared to the physical visits because they're not getting all the hours of time that they're supposed to get. So it is tough because one of their visit days is on a Saturday. So when you have visit days on Saturdays, it makes it difficult for you to do anything on weekends. It makes things tough in general because there's other things like you want, when with our son, when we adopted him, we were able to start creating some normalcy based on our rules and everything. With the girls, it's definitely different. An example would be their hair. They've been begging us for months to get their hair cut, and we're not allowed to make that decision. And their biological mom has said repeatedly, no, you're not allowed to get your hair cut more than I think just a little tiny bit off, and their hair is long, down,
past our bottom.
Yeah, exactly. But there's certain things like that we can't make those decisions. It is different than parenting like your own child. And when we set out to do this, we were hoping it would just be the amount of time it would take for either them to make a decision to move forward with adoption, or to return home. We would be supportive either way. It's just we were hoping to find out a month later whether we would be adopting or whether they would be going back. So when she was told that in October, that it was going to be February, right away we're thinking, well, are we wanting to be long-term foster parents? So Skyla ended up telling her, well, we're going to have to call you back on that because that's several months away.
And that's also a family decision. It wasn't for me to just be like yes or no right on the phone. Yep. Because not only are we thinking about us, we're thinking about our son, we're thinking about the girls, and how this is all going to affect them. So it was, and she was kind of begging me before I got off the phone just to keep them until February. And I told her again, like, I can't make a decision on the phone because, again, it's a family decision. It's not just mine. And even with long-term foster care and I just want to piggyback on what you had said, that parenting is completely different. So when we were set out to adopt our son, once termination happened, basically the caseworkers were like, he's basically your kid until, not legally, but you can get his hair cut, you can, take him, camping, you can do all this stuff with him, and that's fine. You just gotta let them know, what you're doing, if you're going on a trip or something. But with the girls, with long-term foster parenting, you can't do anything past 72 hours. If you want to go somewhere, you have to get a court order, or you have to get approval from the biological parents as well. It's all these rules that you have to abide by, so you can't really plan things or go anywhere, or do anything with the kids, because it's basically a huge team decision. And so that's just something else that we just couldn't do. So again, I finally talked to Craig, and